Hey guys, this is a snippet of one of my coaching calls I just ran today. And do you know what? I just felt like you need to hear this. If you're going through struggle, if you're going through a situation where you do not know what to do and everything seems like it's against you, just listen to this. I think you're going to get a lot of value. I'm very passionate about this one. So with this one, it's about what can we do when we're overwhelmed by our situation or we don't feel like we've got a lot of control. So it could be, for example, maybe let me go for my personal example. It wasn't crazy horrible, but it was very uncomfortable for me. And it was about my whole process of coming over to America. Horrible long journey of stuff going on, lots of learnings there, of course, and you feel like you're out of control. You feel like it, and I know there's smaller situations than that and there's bigger ones, but what can we do to be able to let go or to deal with the overwhelm of a situation and to gain more control when we feel out of control? I mean, it's a really good question. It comes up quite often because we go through life. So let me go ahead, because life throws things at us, and some are good, some are bad, and once again, some are indifferent. So with this one, it can be hard, right? Now, I remember, I haven't got it to me. I think it's in Cambridge still. I should really buy that. I think I might have it here. But I know Carl's actually read this. Man's for Search for Meaning. First of all, we can look at that book and go, oh my goodness, people are going through some crazy stuff and it's hard. Now, if you haven't read it, it's a hard read in terms of because it's about the concentration camps, about the Holocaust and so on. But it's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I talked about him all the time. It's Victor with a Viktor, Victor. Frankl, Frankl, and Man's Search for Meaning. Now, I know Carl's read this a couple of times because we spoke about it before. It's very insightful, and the one thing which always pops up in my life when it kind of comes up when I think about it is when we're unable to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. So here's this guy going through all this horrible stuff, seeing people die around him, his friends, family, people he doesn't know, and just seeing the general collapse of humanity, if you know what I mean, in that situation. And he was a psychologist beforehand, but he was took on different roles, and he had to go left lane, right lane. It was really, really crazy hard. And if someone goes through such trauma, then he comes out of it and goes, look, and there's another quote as well. I'm going to get this wrong just because it's a long one. But it's no matter what you do to me or what you take away from me, you'll never be able to take my mind. It's something similar to that. You could have he could have been hit, beaten, he could have been abused, he could have been not fed, but one thing you cannot take away from me is my mind or my will or my desire, my passion, my purpose. And that was empowering for me. And then the other aspect is when we're unable to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Now, in the times in my life where I've gone through stuff, and like I said, I'm not saying I've gone through crazy bad stuff, but I've been through some real stuff, some crazy stuff as well. And it kind of just makes me reflect on that. I go, look, what can I do to change within myself? Now, let's elevate this a little bit. What can we do to change ourselves, which actually allow ourselves to, one, and this will go into your mission statement and create your day. Number one, allow me to experience really what life has to offer, which will allow me to feel peace in this situation despite the turbulence, to allow me to be a part of something bigger to help others. Because I know that my past consequence or my past events have led me to this point right now. And if it wasn't because of those things, I would not be here in the exact same way. And therefore, I would not have I mean, I think the reality is I have helped people. There's been a few people I have actually helped. I don't know the exact number, but there's people who are here in my mastery in the podcast. There's people in this who have listened to the podcast in the middle of the night, and they said that they were thinking of, for example, ending their life. They listened to it, and I'm like, that blows my mind. It's like, well, my past stuff led me to this point. Not good stuff, but because I learn and I grow and I refuse to allow the situation to dictate me despite the stress, it caused me to use that as leverage in the future, as learnings and as processes and things, all the things that I've created to help other people, even in worse situations than I ever went through. And that blows my mind. And I think that when we tap into the thing greater than ourselves, and you'll know it from the last call and also in the Create Your Morning, we're going into contribution a lot more, like the real power reasons, the whys, and how we're going to go for and be in this world. And I think that if we have that as our leverage, then we're going to keep on going. You know, like, bring it on. Like, I don't care. I'm going to do this. You may be able to, like, stop me. Like, if it's my boss saying, look, you're never going to get anywhere, or I don't know, it's another job which I didn't get. Do you know what? I don't care. I'm going to get another job. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to level up. I'm going to level up my mind, refuse to be an example. Do you know what? I'd never want to be another statistic of someone else who didn't quite succeed in that situation. So whether it's a job, I don't want to be a statistic of not actually having a job. I don't want to be in that bracket. Now, it might be hard for me to get out of that bracket, but you know what? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to go for it. And my outer control, where I do feel overwhelmed and out of control, it is my opportunity for myself. This is how I see it, is what can I get control of right now? Now, ultimately, the one thing I have control over is my mind, right? It's my mind. Like, there's things I can do to be different. Now, I could just be doing certain things which will allow me to be more. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that if I'm out of control, what can I have or do which allows me to feel more control? Whether it's my mind or something in my life. What can I do if I'm feeling overwhelmed? How can I begin to get more clarity? And you know what, like, if I've got 100 things on my mind, what are, in the Miracle Morning will help with this, what are the 2 or 3 things I've got to do today, which if I do will just get me closer to where I want to be? So that's where the step-by-step aspect of achieving those goals is really powerful and helpful when it comes to this. Does that make sense so far? Let me just... Yeah, and that kind of goes on to like how we can keep that momentum and the kind of systems we can create. So that means we're realizing that, look, there's something inside. Here's the thing as well, right? And I don't care how small. I'm going to go really deep with this for a second. Because I know that, and I'm not going to go like religious or spiritual, because I wouldn't say I'm religious at all, but I'm very spiritual. There's times when I've been an atheist in a way when I was like younger. I went through Catholic school. I don't know how I even got into Catholic school, by the way, because number one, my brothers got baptized and my mum and dad forgot me. Yes, you did, mum and dad, you forgot me. You tried to make me think that it was my decision when I was older to make the best decision. But I kind of know you've kind of forgot to do that about me. But so I got into Catholic school. And I had good experiences there and things like that. But then went through school and I kind of like lost a lot of that stuff because I just didn't really get it, right? I didn't understand. And the questions, and I know this with Melissa, despite her being like religious, she was like public enemy number 1 in her school because she was asking all the cool questions like, well, what about this though? What about this though? And it made her rebel for a period of time, for her personally. And then she realized there's something deeper than that. It's like, it's not about necessarily your religion. And I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care if you're agnostic. I don't care if you're spiritual. What I care about is you. And I care about you in such a way that when I speak to you, I see you, I hear you, and I know you. Because I know all of you, by the way. I mean, especially if you're in the Facebook group, I know you. I look at you and I think about you often. Not in a creepy way, but I do. And I go, look, I can see so much pure light in you. And I don't care if it's about the job. I don't care if it's about the relationship, if you're trying to get out of a relationship, or if you're trying to hit that income goal. I know you have so much to offer. I know that there's a part of you in the inside which, despite being held down, which is being kept locked up, or you feel as if I'm stuck here and there's nothing I can do. You know what? There's one thing, when that happens, we only have one option, and that's to fight like hell. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to do whatever it takes to be able to grasp every we can, because each breath that we have, and I realize this as I'm going through the miracle morning, especially go through the technique of the breath. Your breath is so important. It oxygenates this thing in our mind, right? Which breathes ideas. It breathes compassion. It breathes wanting to help someone. That oxygen that we're breathing into our system is something that we're utilizing. Our body is this whole system of energy in, energy generation, energy out. Like storing energy, generating, moving energy, and all these kind of things. And we take an aspect of that for our breath. And when you think about what your breath is, it is your life force, right? Now, to me, if we really go deeply into the beauty of who we are, you're this living thing. And I'm putting this in this big grand scheme of things because it makes sometimes, especially if it is like just the job and things like that, it puts into context that we can get so overwhelmed and disappointed in life that we kind of go, oh, bugger it. There's my lot. There's what's going to happen. No, it's not. It's not at all. You see, if I could like pull someone aside sometimes and like kind of metaphorically kind of shake them a little bit and go, look, you're so special to me and you're so special to other people. You can't quite see it yet, but I know you're going to look back and realize that because of this one defining moment, you're able to change the world. And you might be going in that moment, look, how can I change the world? Well, number one, you being in the world changes the world. The universe is different. Think of that in a grand scheme, but you being in the world, you make the universe different. Your energy being here, your imprint, what you do, let alone if you overcome this situation, no matter big, small, or indifferent, you will allow yourself to be an example to that one person. Now, I didn't know about that stuff. Like, when I got into this, I just wanted to speak my mind, but when you began to speak to people, and you go into this, and some people like gone up to me in the middle of the street and said, and it only happened a couple of times, but they said, oh, Joseph Clough, I know you. You really helped me do that. I'm like, I didn't even know that person. But there's something that I did which caused them to wake up. And you might actually be that person in the physical reality. In other words, if you kind of go, look, this situation right now is interesting. It is hard. And I feel like it's not going to stop. Doesn't matter what event it is right now. But you have to realize that if you keep on taking action on your dreams, the difference that you will make in your life, your parents' life, your children's life, like even if you adopt children or you sponsor children for a charity, or you help your siblings' children, or you help that person on the street. Do you know what? I wasn't going to say this, right? So I was in Old Town, San Diego the other day, and it is not about bragging at all, okay? Totally, so I don't want you know my energy is not about that. And Melissa goes into a crystal shop, and I've been to enough crystal shops recently to know I don't need to be in another crystal shop. And I had Sebastian with me, so I'm sitting there. We just had some food at a Mexican restaurant. I had this food here, and they always over deliver, and it's like, okay, we're gonna give it to someone. There's a lot of homeless people around, things like that. So I see this guy, and I had to cross over the road, and I gave it. And you know what? It's just like, if it made you feel good. And then I was like, okay, this is interesting, makes me feel good. I've done it before, but I feel good today, right? So I saw this other kid on the stream. okay? And something just like popped to my mind in that moment, because he looked like he needed help. He was on the street and he was writing in a book, and I thought, there's freaking awesome, like, to a degree. Like, if you're on the street, the last thing you want to do is probably be writing something. So I go over there and I just like gave the guy $20. Now, he was all very emotional about that, because I don't know how long they've been there. I mean, $20 in the grand scheme is not a lot. It can bet. Do you know what? You're not a lot can be the biggest thing for someone else. Let me say it again. You're not a lot, like, let's say $20 or $5, might not be big to you, but it can be huge for someone. And he was this guy, and he was like very emotional about it, saying God bless you and things like that. And like, he was like in a kind of shock. And I was like, this was small for me. Like, I mean, it's not hard. I mean, for any one of us to give $20 or £20 sometimes. Sometimes you might get it for your birthday, and you get it away. You might even spend that at a restaurant or for a couple of drinks and things like that. And it may mean nothing to you. It may mean something, but you know what I mean? It won't mean as much as to someone else. So then it makes me wonder and think about this. It's like, well, if you can do one thing for someone which may be small, it could be the breakthrough that person needed. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to that person. He might have been like making it up and just went to the drug dealer or get alcohol or buy it on food, or, you know, we don't know what it is. But do you know what I do know? That little bit can mean a lot for someone. So when we're out of the control of the situation, we have to realize and go, look, what if I were to overcome this situation? What's one thing that I could do that is actually going to help someone else in the future? Because I didn't know this in the beginning. What can we do today together as a group, as a Mind Mastery family group? What can we do as we overcome our issues? So if you're suffering from like the post-traumatic stress, imagine if you let go of that right now, right today, and you shared that with one other person who was going through stuff because they've been to war and things like that. Like, I'm probably flying out to Israel in August again to teach their clients trauma relief techniques. There's a lot of trauma over there. What if, and do you know what, I was thinking about, actually Melissa brought me up on this, like, do you know what, I didn't want to go. But I'm like, look, do you know what? People need this. Regardless if I want to do it to a degree, and it was good money and things like that, I had to come up with a kind of solution, and it's probably going to go ahead now. But in the beginning I was like, I don't want to do this. Then I'm like, but this is what you do. People need this right now. So I was like, okay, then we should be doing more of their stuff. We should be helping more people in an efficient way. So just imagine if you haven't got that job, or you're experiencing that issue of feeling not good enough, feeling that post-traumatic stress, or whatever it is for you. Imagine if you let it go, and just regardless of the consequence. Like, think about Rocky, okay? The film Rocky. I never used to like those movies as such until I actually understood the real reasoning behind it, and also the real true story behind the creation of the Sylvester Stallone Rocky movies. But when you go into it, it's the person's against their odds, and they've like been told they're not good enough and not going to be able to get anywhere. But you know what? They fight for something, and they do it regardless. They do it through heaven and the hell. They go through the hell, the heaven, the hell, and the heaven, all the way through it until they actually get there. And you know what? Someone is inspired by that. And I think that is our justice, to be able to like go for the next level, the next step that allows us to experience life in a different way. I was listening to something today, and it's like, do you know what you do now is going to ripple out to your future generations, whether you have children or not, your generations in society, where the human earth is going to be heading in the future. What we do in this earth, I mean, wasn't it the Marcus Aurelius quote, whatever we do here echoes in for eternity, something like that, right? And it is true. It's like, what can we do today which will allow us, no matter how small, no matter what we do? Like, if I just kept on going, and somehow in a year's time, 6 months time, I did something and I got something and I earned something and I did it against all the odds, then we go, look, someone's seen this. Someone's noticed you, and they might not even tell you they've noticed you. They might verbalize it, but you know what? You will be noticed by someone or something, and they'll see someone who is so beautiful and so remarkable that you may even just save that person. And it could be as little as how to get a job. Because maybe someone in that situation has just lost their job and they're in debt and they think about even ending their own life. But no, getting a job, there's a small thing for you. It's a big thing, but it's a small thing. But not for that other person again. Remember, $20 might not be enough, might be a lot for you, but for someone else, it could be crazy big. It could be life-changing. So even by overcoming the issue, no matter how big or small it is, you may just save someone. You might save someone from giving up. So realize, in the context of this situation, you may feel overwhelmed. And I'm saying this because there's just like something which has to be said for everyone right now. You may be feeling overwhelmed by a situation. You might be up against it. You might not have any control whatsoever. But if we go back to Viktor Frankl, we're unable to change a situation, we challenge to change ourselves. But what I'm going to say on top of that is, when we challenge to change ourselves because there's something deeper for us, and there's something deeper in the long term of why we do what we do, then without a doubt, that one thing makes the difference. That one thing that we have control over, which is the breath in our lungs, is the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. That is the game changer, which could ripple out for everyone. Everyone in our group, everyone, like if you become a success in this story, of your personal storyboard right now, us as like the people watching you in the sides are like, this person's awesome. You're showing me how to do things. You're being an example of having been where I've been or being in a similar situation, and it just completely changes their world and their life. So I ask you and urge you to go, look, what can I do when I can't do anything? What is it that I can tap into to keep on doing what I have to do? So, yeah, and we're seeing, I can see on the chat, I know for a fact, without a doubt, and I know you're verbally saying this, maybe not verbally out loud, but verbally through written keyboards, not written at all either, tapped keyboards, you inspire many people in this program. You are an example of what can be done, even if you haven't done it all. Even if you've ended that cycle of transformation yet, you are an example to someone else who's beginning that journey, who is stuck in that journey. And you have to keep inspiring others around you. That's where the purpose comes in, that's where the contribution comes in, and that is exactly why we need to do whatever it takes. So, that was a great question. I really appreciate that question, because it's just like so important, so important. So with that in mind, we didn't have many questions today, but I think that is, we're over time anyway. Thank you, Nina. I appreciate that. It's just true. That's truth, okay? And you know when you're truth, when you start to get a little bit emotional yourself. So that was just something I wanted to get out there. Like I said, this is for my private group clients, and I just thought, like, you need to hear this sometimes, and hopefully you got value. Maybe there's someone you need, or you know who needs this, but whatever it is, just absorb it and just do whatever it takes. Like, you only live once. So let's just do this. Let's create something. Invest, put time, whatever it is for you. Just do whatever it takes. I believe in you, so be the example of what can be done. Be great.